So we have seen how to use and, or, and not operators in Python. And we also saw how can we use true and false Boolean values in Python. Now we are going to see some of the bad examples of programs that are written in Python. Let's see that. So let's say I have a condition something like if true print this will be always printed. This is one of the bad examples of using booleans or a true in Python. We should never have this if true as a condition because it's always going to be true and it's always going to execute our print statement. So let's see the output of this program. Let's run our program python bad example.py, and here we can see that it's always going to be printed no matter what, since the if condition is directly true. Similar way, if we make the if condition as false like this is also a bad way of using the false. So this won't be printed at all. Let's test this. Let's run our program python bad example.py. Here we can see that it's not printing the second print statement, which is in if false condition, which clearly indicates that no matter what we do, if false won't let that print statement to be printed at all. Now let's say we have a variable is subscribed equal to true, and we have an if condition if is subscribed or not is subscribed. Print this will be always printed. Now why is it? Because here you can see that we have it subscribed, which is true, and not subscribed, which when it subscribed is true is going to evaluate to false. And as per OR operator, when one of the input is true, the output is going to be true, and hence this if condition will be always executed. So let's see the trial of this. Python bad example.py, and here we can see that it again prints this will be always printed. So the two print statements are this one, which is because of the bad way of using true, and this because of the bad way of using or, as resulting into printing these two print values always whenever we run this Python code. So whether our if subscribed is true or false, the statement is always going to be true. So let's say we execute this. Now let's run our program python bad example.py, and it again prints that statement. The reason is that it sees that the is subscribed is false, so the is left side of the or is false, but the right side says not is subscribed, which makes that false to true. And since false or true is true, this print statement is executed. Now let's see another example. We might be tempted to use the condition like this: if true print user is subscribed. But this way of checking for whether the variable value is true or not is again one of the bad examples. The reason being, here you can see that we are checking for the truth value, and it's subscribed in itself is actually holding a true or a false value, basically the Boolean value. So right now it's false. So obviously there is no point in checking false is equal to true. Let's first execute this. Let me make it true. Let's execute our program python bad example.py, And here we can see that it prints user is subscribed. Although the output is user is subscribed because is subscribed was set to true, it doesn't make sense to actually put this check. We could just ignore that check and write is subscribed. So this entire expression could be written like this. So let's comment this. If it's subscribed, now let's execute this program. Let's run our program. Python bad example, and it behaves the similar way. So we should be always avoiding any kind of such checks. So if it's not only valid for true, let's say we would want it to check for false, this is still, although it's a valid statement in Python, it's not a good way of having the checks. Hence we should avoid writing something like this in the conditions. Let's say we have a location of the user node. Let me make it Mumbai. Now checking something like this, if location equal to Mumbai or Delhi, print it's a metro city. Let's first execute this program and then I'll explain why it's a bad way of writing a code. Let's execute our program. Python bad example. It says it's a metro city, so that means our if condition is true. So now why it's a bad way? It's a bad way because or and not operator or any of the comparisons, when we are doing these operators, the and, or, and not, which are a logical operators, they expect the expressions to be evaluating to true or false, not the strings. There has to be a boolean expression on left as well as the right side for and or, and right side of not. Here, this Delhi is a string. It's not a boolean expression, and hence this is a bad way of writing a code. We should instead have this if condition something like this. Let me comment this. And here it should have a location equal to. So although we add this extra code, but it makes it more Pythonic as well as it's a valid way of using the Boolean expressions. Now let's run this example. Python bad example, and it just prints the similar way what it did in the previous case.